live from Greenville. It's Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. Two days left.
2 days left in this week. This week's gone a little better than last week.
Yep. Yeah, we had a bunch of damage here in the Southeast, and fortunately our office was closed, or one of our offices were closed last week, and we got everything back, and now Florida's getting ready to be hit. I was there yesterday and got back last night, and so that's scary for those folks in that area. So if you're out there, we're thinking about you.
Yep, we just went through it last week, and some folks are still dealing with it. So, but we persevere. Welcome everyone. Looking forward to the discussion today. Going to talk about best practices for adoption and utilization, really around CRM, but technology in general. We were talking about this earlier.
Yep.
A lot of this could be applied to other technologies and softwares that you have in your business. It's not just about CRM, but we hear about it every day because that's what we're dealing in.
Yeah, exactly. I think obviously our business is in the CRM space, but things we're talking about today would apply to really anything that you're doing in your business. So should be a scalable conversation.
Very good.
You'll get one or two nuggets out of it.
All right. Well, yeah, we have some action items too. So
right.
Things that you can take action. So I'm John Goff. I'm Director of Business Development here at TrebleHook. I've been focused on technology for I was doing the math here since 2011, really. I got into database and security and worked my way into applications and just kind of being a salesperson, got the CRM bug. I like tools that make me do my job better and helping others do their job better. So I've been focused on CRM for the AEC industry for about 6.5 years now. So
yeah, awesome. And my name's Chris Fay. I'm the founder and CEO of TrebleHook. Background in commercial and industrial construction, have been running our parent company, TPM, for the last 14 years. And then we founded TrebleHook in 2021 and really have been focused in the AEC space and really CRM and pursuit tools in the AEC space. So thanks for having me today, John.
Chris, I wouldn't have it any other way. Just a quick housekeeping note for everybody. We will take questions at the end. I think we're going to get through this pretty quickly. We don't have a long agenda here. But we've got some good nuggets. But as we're going along, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. We'll have some time at the end for that. And now Mackenzie, by the way, is manning the board today. We got rid of Alex. Alex was here. If any of you were like a few, but now Mackenzie stepped in and I think taking it to another level.
Yeah, we thought Alex was good.
Yeah, he was.
Just realized that he's better at lead generation, and Mackenzie is better at this execution. So we've got her on the team.
So thank you, Mackenzie. And here we have one of Chris's crazy visuals. He always throws something in here without telling me, and I sometimes I can figure it out, and sometimes I can't. But it looks like we have some kind of a stool here.
Yeah,
Chris.
Yeah. So, you and I talked about a year in review webinar. We would only show the singular image that opens up every webinar and talk through the various principles. But
it'll be our best webinar. So join us for that one in December.
I think you and I are pretty well aligned on this topic. So this is a good one where we have the same one. But yeah, so the three-legged stool. Everybody knows the analogy here, but if we talk about CRM or really talk about any piece of technology in general, we truly believe there's three key legs to the stool that will drive effective utilization. Now, we've seen technology be deployed with only two legs or maybe with only one leg, and over time that stool will fall.
Yep.
But really, when we see people invest in technology, they want to maximize the use of that technology. And if technology is not being used and it's not being adopted into the business, you're not getting the full value. And so you might as well not spend the time and energy and effort onto it. So for us, and what we're going to dive into today are really our three legs, what we believe. And first really revolves around the users. Two is really relative to leadership. And then three is really speaking about the processes. And so today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each one of the three legs and talk a little bit about some of the best practices to help your users, your leadership, and your processes. And then what we thought we would do today is give you one key takeaway that you can leave with today. And the takeaway is not go buy TrebleHook, even though that would be great. But just in general, if you were going to leave here today and improve in your existing tech stack inside of your business, what's one thing that you could do in each area? So we'll talk about each one of those today as well.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, so what happens that, I'm on the kind of the receiving end when customers, prospects, new folks come to us it's a user. It's typically an individual contributor. They're typically in marketing or business development. They have a personal pain point. A lot of times they're looking to improve their own process. They're looking to maximize their time. I get calls, particularly marketers, that I'm working overtime. I'm looking for a way to just streamline my workflow. They may or may not have buy-in from leadership. So it's a harder conversation and a longer kind of a process if they don't. Like Chris says, you can kind of stand on one or two. You don't necessarily need all three legs of the stool. But if it's an individual user, they're typically coming and they're like, how can I sell this internally? How can I sell this to my boss who's going to ultimately pay for this system? And then conversely, you've got leadership who oftentimes, and I see this with a lot of kind of family-owned businesses, they've been around for a long time. I've got so-and-so and so-and-so who've been doing the same thing for the last 20, 25 years. I don't see how I can bring in a new system and tell them to reinvent the wheel and do. They're great employees. They've been doing a great job. How do I sell that to them? So ultimately, it's better to have both in alignment.
Yeah.
But we see it where it's just one or the other. I'm going to go it alone. We know we need something, and we're going to try to prove it out.
Yeah. Awesome.
So the three legs of a stool. Giving users an intuitive, easy tool that helps them do their job. That's number one. Enabling leadership to access insights into the business to drive decisions. Second leg of the stool. And the third is driving critical processes through the solution that users can't go around.
Right. Right. Maybe we should have said that instead of circumvent.
Well, users can't go around.
That word looks really like fun webinar-ish. That we should have a strike through.
That's a little too much of a lecture.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The college professor.
But those are really the three. It's around an easy tool for users. It's around leadership and the ability for them to have a tool that will drive decision making, and then it's driving processes through the system.
Yep.
So starting at number one.
Let's do it. So on there's a lot of things you can think about here, but really as we start talking about users, they're the foundation of technology. They're the ones that are going to be actively in the system, using it every day, and you have to give users an intuitive and easy to use tool that can help them do their job. So that's kind of the sense. And really that was one of the reasons that we started our company. So if we go to the next slide, we've got a handful of items here, but one of the reasons that we started our company is that we heard a lot of people had technology in their business that they were just like, it's kind of antiquated. It's hard to use. I can't drive change in it. And in today's world, with all of the technological advances, there are pieces of technology that are really quite easy, and a user should be able to hop into it and almost enjoy using a tool day in and day out. So a couple of things we've put on here as far as what users can expect, but the number one is like simple and easy to use. Yeah. One of the things that users get super frustrated about is logging in, and they can't really figure out where to go, what to do. It doesn't follow their typical workflows. In our view, somebody should be able to log into the system and really get the basic work done without too much instruction.
Yeah. They don't have to be experts day one, but not to have to ask somebody, one of their peers, how to do something that should be fairly simple. That gets frustrating, and people will find a way to go around it. As a salesperson, I look at it. If you're going to give me a tool to use, if it's harder for me to use than it is benefit that I get from it, then I'm going to go back to doing things my own way. If I'm getting benefit out of it, and part of that is being easy to use, then I'm going to stick with it. And I think you're going to be able to sell me on it.
And I think one of the frustrations that we see out there is you talk to users where somebody on the leadership team has purchased a piece of technology for the business, and they basically give the users a tool and say, look, this is what we expect you to use. And the users, the people that are on the ground actually executing it every day, don't know how to use it, right? It's not easy and intuitive. So obviously that's kind of an easy number one. And when you're demoing technology or looking at technology, you want to make sure that your users have an influence on that, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be leveraging the tool every day.
Right.
The a couple others we start talking about is really around the processes of communication and connection. So, the reality is there's not one magic piece of software or technology that is going to solve every pain point in the business.
Everybody's looking for the magic.
Yeah, you look the magic one solution. And as much as we all want that, the reality is we believe that there's going to be a few key solutions that you have in the business that are purpose built for those departments or those divisions or those use cases, and then they ultimately have to connect. So we start talking around communication. AEC firms also have multiple divisions and departments. And so we're looking for ways by which it can help me communicate with in between marketing and business development or pre-construction and contracts, our operations groups and our field team. And so we're looking for ways to not only something easy to use, but also ways to connect and to communicate better with each other.
Right. Yeah. And you've got people who are working from home. You've got multiple office locations. There's all kinds of different communications challenges that you can solve with a system that people have that easy, clean visibility into what other people, groups, divisions, geographies are doing.
And we'll talk a little bit about more of that in the process side. But, obviously we start talking about mobility. I mean, this is kind of an easy one, but especially in the AEC world. But, people are on airplanes and at home, displaced. I mean, our team was displaced last week, and we've got to be able to operate people that are in cars, sitting in parking lots. And so mobility is a key one. And I think sometimes we've seen solutions, and not just CRM, but just in general, where they've got a pretty nice UI in a browser on a laptop. But when you really take a look at the mobile tools, what you can see on an iPad and a phone, it's really restricted. And the reality is users want the ability to do anything and everything in technology, no matter what device and where they are. So mobility is a huge one, especially I know as you talk about like business development and project management, and field folks and AEC.
Tablets more and more too, not just phones and communications and being able to log activities and having that whole process be easy, but just to show clients images, pictures, photos of jobs, work that you've done. Just to have that in the system and to be able to access it quickly is a huge kind of selling point.
Yeah, and then we talk about the connections. We talked about this a bit before around these multiple points, sort of CRM and these project management. Users don't want to have to insert data or input data multiple times. So hey, I put it in this system, and then I have to go put it in this system, and then I have to type an email and put it in this form. We want to enter data one time and allow it to just work through the ultimate life cycle or workflow, and that's going to require those systems to be connected. So I know we've talked to a lot of folks that either have a CRM system that's not connected to anything else. So marketers that want to do research on past project performance, they're going in and they're like, gosh, I don't have all the data. I have to go over here to get this data and over here to get this data. So users are really expecting your tools to be connected. One centralized project database, one place to go look, one place to insert data. And, one of the things we talked about earlier is just really, this is such a competitive market, and the job market is tight. One of the things that differentiates any of our companies are the people that work for us. And you want to make sure you're recruiting and retaining the very best talent that you can in the marketplace. And the reality is users, your employees, have very little appetite for inefficient technology. It's one of the things, especially as younger generations come in place, if they see a company that has antiquated and out-of-date technology, they might actually not choose. They might choose not to work for that organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's really twofold. It's attracting people when they come in. I as a salesperson, I'm looking around like I'm motivated by money. I want to make money, and so if I have I'm talking to one company and they're doing things and it looks like they were doing the same things 30 years ago. I talked to another company. They look like they're modern, efficient, up to date. They've got modern tools and things. I'm gonna choose the latter because I have more of a chance to separate myself from the pack and to just do my job better.
Yeah. So it can really help build your culture and kind of set the expectation for that. This other one is really around automation and insights, and this topic has really become a big one. AI is a massive topic out there, and ChatGPT and OpenAI and all the tools that we have. But the reality is we're all hired in our particular their companies to do a job and to do something that is beneficial to the company. One of the things that drives users crazy is when they have to do things that they're not good at, they don't enjoy, or ultimately it doesn't really support their role. And so, today we're expecting technology to automate certain things for us, to remind me of things that I need to be following up on, to take care of manual tasks so I don't have to remember and I don't have to document that. We want to automatically grab data for data entry into systems. And so that way we can take our minds and our energy and effort and put it to the most valuable use of our time in the business. And then similarly, we expect insights out of that. I know we talk about this when we get into the leadership state, but we really want insights from all this. Like what are the things I need to know about my business, or what are the things I need to know about my role to help me improve or help me grow?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, and ultimately the last one, and this is kind of a summation, if you would say kind of just general to users, is if you just take a general step back and you think about the employees and the people that are working for you, they want to win. They want to be successful in their business. They want to work for a company that is invested in their growth and their performance. And they want tools and resources that are going to help them grow and progress in their career. And so we need to look at our users, and we need to look at technology, and certainly CRM is one of those components. Look at technology as a tool to help our employees grow and progress in their careers. And if we can do that, you're going to have happier employees that will drive more utilization, and ultimately will feed into the second leg of our stool.
Yeah, and doing their job better and really freeing up time is the big thing as well. If you've got a job to do, you've got to focus. It's what you're hired to do. You're not hired to like fumble around in systems and look for data and things like that. The amount of time that you save with an efficient system frees up time to do what you really want to do and what you're being paid to do.
Yep. Cool.
All right. So the one thing that can be done today.
Yep. So outside of, calling us and talking about TrebleHook CRM, no kidding, is really to do a survey of your employees. Yep. Send a quick note to your employees, and I would say all of them, right? So take CRM out for a second, talk about all your tech. What's the one biggest technological pain point that you have in your day? Like, that's it. Like, what's the one biggest thing? And, John is a quick example of something we talked about earlier.
I was just going to say, we have an example of something came up today. As a matter of fact,
we were talking about a kind of an inefficient technological pain point that John has around our invoicing and collections process, right? And so, go out and ask your users, and you might be surprised at what you find. But what's the one thing that you can do today? Send a quick survey out, get that information, and then attack that one thing with all that you have in the fourth quarter.
Yep. Yeah, because I was just waiting for the right opportunity to bring it up with Chris, and it was like 3 weeks. This survey would have helped
because I didn't send the survey out.
Chris could have sent a survey.
I should have sent the survey out. Yeah.
But it winds up, I'm sure he hears from a lot of people too who give him like one-offs. But a survey is a good way to capture a lot of things that you may not have even known. Some things you may know, but you'll see commonality. If 10 people are saying the same thing, it's like, oh, this may be a bigger issue than I thought.
Well, it's funny, I just thought about this, John, is when some folks, the word apathy comes to mind, and I'm not sure that's the right term, but some users, and I've seen this in our company, is just get used to inefficient technology, and they just think that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Like they don't realize there's a better way. So sometimes, you go to them, you're like, hey, like, what's your biggest pain point? Like, I don't know. Well, you kind of poke around. What about this? What about that? Oh yeah, it'd be great if we could do this. It'd be great if they could do this. Yeah. And so I think questions like this, surveys like this, will help unlock people's thought process to take a step back and give you some insights. That's the one thing that you can do on the user side today.
There you go. All right. So number 2 revolves around leadership and really giving access to insights so that they can make better business decisions.
Yep. And you can look at this as a I personally don't like, and we don't run our companies with the methodology of top down and bottom up. I mean, I view our business as a relatively flat organizational structure, and we all have a role to do in the company. But if you think about a traditional hierarchy inside of a business, the user would be kind of the groundswell bottom up. So you're giving your team, your employees, a tool that's going to help them elevate. But secondarily, you have to have leadership's buy-in in order to set the vision, and then also leverage the technology to drive uniformity. And especially the larger that your business is, the bigger the need for the leadership team to play a vital role into technology implementation. Smaller AEC firms, one marketer, one business developer, principal. You can just give the user a tool, helps them kind of operationalize. But when you start looking at multiple divisions and multiple locations, it's really important that the leadership can help look across the various lines to make sure they're driving uniformity to ultimately help the business grow.
Yeah, and particularly if they're looking to grow and scale the business
exactly.
too. We say that if there are cracks in the foundation to start with, when you're growing over time, those cracks get bigger and bigger and bigger.
We got that analogy down.
We've got that analogy.
I used the car analogy and a lot of our other stuff, and we got the foundation analogy. That's an AEC one. So, but really, in this one, I think about, John, as we were talking about this earlier, you think about like what we're doing inside of our business. And, some leaders are more tech savvy than others, and it's okay. You don't have to be a tech expert in order to leverage technology as a leader, right? I tend to gravitate towards technology, but that's okay. But really the leader's role is to really help first set this clear direction, this vision of where we're going and why. So, if we're growing our company and we're heading in these directions, and the team is telling me that we need to implement some technology, it's my job as a leader to recognize that and to enable my team with the tools that they need to be successful. And especially as your business gets more and more complex, we've got multiple business units and multiple divisions. It's really important because I and some of our leadership team get to see what's happening in various aspects of the business. And so it takes the leader to be able to bridge these various conversations to ultimately put the best solution in for the business. So I think a leader really has to set a clear direction and expectations around what they're expecting to get. And sometimes that expectation and vision can actually come from the users, but it's the leader's job to gather, consolidate, and to be able to roll that out for an effective implementation.
Encourage the feedback, first of all. Encourage people, be open about it, and then be open
to receive.
Send the survey, and then have a mechanism in place to act on it.
Yep. And then the second one is really leaders have to use some version of the technology. Okay. And so if we talk about CRM just for a minute, is I might have the business development teams and marketing teams and pre-con or whatever inside of my business leveraging, but to help drive that accountability across the business, I myself have to take a look at some of the key insights into it. And for me, like I'm a big accountability through visibility, like the data doesn't lie. So if we say that we need to do X revenue or create this many whatevers,
30 new opportunities,
33 new opportunities, created in a month, right? Then it's my job as a leader to make sure that we're tracking that on a consistent basis. And so a leader has to drive accountability through visibility by leveraging the insights from the tool. And one of the best ways that you can do that is picking one or two key reports that you can look at on a weekly basis, and not just look at it, but actually discuss it with your team.
Right.
So I know when we do one-on-ones in our business, or if we're reviewing one of our business units, one of the very first things that we do is we go to the technology and we level set on the insights. Right. And we make sure we're all clear on what's going on in the business, and then we can start talking about what to do next. So definitely a big one there. And then I would say the third one, and equally important, is if technology is deployed properly and we're able to gather appropriate data, the amount of data insights that we can get into our business is unbelievable. And whether this is kind of a second nature for you as a leader or not, you as a leader can figure this out or have somebody help you figure this out. But if you really have a connected set of technology in your business and users are effectively using those tools, you're gathering tremendous insights into your business. And those insights can really help you identify where to take your company in the future. And, AEC, just like the technology space, hyper competitive, right? It's a very competitive marketplace. And we're always looking for ways to differentiate and innovate and kind of carve out our niche in the ecosystem. And one of the best ways to carve out that niche is to use the insights into the business.
Right. Well, typically what I hear is the data is there. That you're gathering data all the time, but where do you put it, and what do you do with it, and how many times do you put it in? So whether data can be gathered and kept in your Outlook, it can be put on a spreadsheet, it can be put in this system or that system. The data is coming in. It's really how do I efficiently gather it? How do I consolidate it? How do I make it accessible and viewable and valuable to the users?
Yep. And then last two are just, I kind of spoke about it already, but it's just, I think it's a leader's job to look across the business and to ensure that we're improving processes in the company or connecting the various departments, because, especially the larger your company gets, departments can operate very autonomously and they can make decisions about their department that may or may not be the best for the greater good of the company.
Yep.
And it's the leader's job to see and identify those things to basically bring everybody together. So I think, really we talked about giving users the tool that they need, but you also have to have the leadership to help set that direction, right? And to also use the technology. It's amazing if you just visualize a dashboard with a couple key metrics on it for the entire company to see, that the leadership team and the users see. It's amazing how it drives accountability.
Yeah, everybody knows
to leverage the technology.
And they're going to do something.
It's important.
Yeah.
So as we talk about the one thing, what's the one thing that you can do today? And every leader's a little bit different. Every business is different. Some use operating systems like, EOS or Traction or Scaling Up or Rhythm. There's all sorts of operating systems that leaders and companies use to run the business. But oftentimes we talk about key performance indicators or metrics. What can you do today? Pick 2 or 3 key metrics that you feel like are the most important things to track in your business. Find out how to track them. And even if it's just in Excel, right? I mean, that's great, whatever. In Excel, and track it on a weekly and a monthly basis and set a goal. And you can do that immediately today. And so if I'm trying to grow our revenue, one of the biggest things that we can do in our business and growing revenue is to open up new opportunities for business. So one of our biggest metrics to success is how many opportunities are we opening up to sell the software that we generate. And that's one of the biggest things that we just really, really rally around. So what can you do as a leader today? Just pick a couple KPIs that you want to drive through the business, communicate that out to the team. Why we're tracking. I was
just going to say, make sure everybody knows it's important. It's a priority. We've identified this. We're going to be tracking it. Let them know you're doing it.
Yep. And I think that one of the things I've seen some leaders do, and I would say I'm guilty of it sometimes as well, is just that there's so much stuff that you can track in a business. And sometimes you get paralysis by analysis and try and look at too many things, when the reality is there's only a few key things that really will drive the business. So get good at those few key things first, and then you can always grow and expand there.
Perfect. All right. And the third leg of the wooden stool is driving critical processes through a solution that people can't go around. I'm not going to use the circumvention.
Strike through. Yeah. That might be the theme. That might be the theme of the next webinar. We'll have one attendee who defines circumventing.
Mackenzie, she'll be the one attendee.
That's right. But this is an interesting one, and I think the more that you leverage technology, the more this one makes sense. But we see, when we talk to AEC firms, we see people that use email and text and digital forms and paper forms, and this person uses this and this person uses this. To really get, once you have users and leadership buy-in and everybody's on board, couple key processes that actually move in the AEC space, projects through the ecosystem or through the life cycle. You have to drive those processes through the technology, and those processes can't be, in this case, circumvented or gone around. And it's a mandate. And this sounds a little tough sometimes. We talk about forcing or mandates, but you have to get the team to leverage everybody gets the same process. And that way you're gathering data insights the same way. You can train and spin people up the same way. Right. You get a new business location or a new division. They now have a simpler process. And I would say one of the things, when we started the business, John, I think that there's a key process that we didn't forecast being such a major issue.
Right.
And it was the startup process.
Yeah.
It was when an AEC firm wins a job, they now need to let the operations and contract team know so that they can set things up in project management tools and ERP. They can spin up the file folder structure. They can get billing set up appropriately. Yeah. That handover process, or what we kind of refer to as the startup process, I don't think we realized how disjointed that process was.
Everybody was like, yeah, we have a clumsy, kind of awkward, time-consuming, back and forth, emailing kind of process.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we did not realize this was a big issue.
And then it's funny. Then you talk to the users that submit jobs for startup, and they're like, oh yeah, I just submit a form, or I send an email, or you send a whatever. But then you go on the other side and you talk to the operations people or the contracts and accounting people that are on the receiving end of this. And they're like, oh my God, this is one of the biggest pain points in the business. I'm chasing data around. I can't get any consistency. So we found that that startup process, when the pursuit team wins a job and hands it over to the contracts as a key process. And so we now want to build that through our system so that every job that gets started up in the same fashion. So that's what we talk about here. And, I think this is one of the areas where we can look across our business and we look at, well, there's an Excel sheet for this or an email for this. These processes have to replace these broken or out of date tool sets that we have in our business.
Yeah, you don't want to just do both.
Right.
You want to replace the out of date system. You don't want to have that spreadsheet and then like still keep it over here, but also using a system. It's like, no, get rid of that spreadsheet and use the system.
Drive it through the technology.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when you do that, we talk about like reducing errors and saving time. It's just when everybody buys into a common way of doing things, and it can be driven through a piece of technology, it is so much simpler. You can spin up new employees faster. They know exactly how to do things. The technology can guide them through the process. You reduce errors. One of the things that we talked about in that startup process is that there's critical information that the accounting and contracts team needs in order to set a project up in the system. And one of the biggest pain points that they told us was that I don't always get the information I need to get it set up.
Yeah, it's missing or incomplete or incorrect.
So what if we could just force that information to come through the system and let accounting know once that information is complete. So, and then, one of the other things I think just in general, and we've talked to customers that, like, I know for me, like when we win a sizable job, like I want to be notified, right? And so we can leverage technology to automatically notify key stakeholders in the business. So, hey, if there's a proposal coming down the pike, we want to go ahead and let marketing know that there's a proposal coming so they can kind of get prepared with their workload. If the project team is winning and negotiating a job and negotiating a contract, let's go ahead and let the contracts team know so they can prepare to be looking for that information. So technology can actually enable us, especially when we're driving these processes through there. Technology can enable a lot of notifications for the team.
And resource management is such a big thing. And we talk about it all the time. As much information as you can give to people in a timely and efficient manner, the better they're able to prepare, the better that they're able to look into the future and to manage their own time and their team's time and others.
Yep. And then, really, we talk about data insights, and we talked about this a second ago with leadership. But if you're leveraging technology, CRM or whatever the tool is, and you're driving these critical processes through the technology, you're going to gather common data insights. So a great example is, in our system, when somebody loses a job, when we win or lose a project for whatever reason, we want to ask why. Why did we? What's the reason of winning the job, and what's the reason of losing the job? Yeah. So we actually mandate that. We mandate that every time you win or lose a project, you answer that key question, so that we can start gathering insights. So we can use these kind of processes to gather critical information that's going to ultimately give the leadership team and the users insights into the business. And when there's gaps in insights or gaps in data, there's going to be gaps in insights, and then you can't leverage the tool. So, and then ultimately, John, you mentioned this before, is probably the right AEC analogy, is the foundation, right? Is all of us are working to grow our business, and some are growing faster than others, and that's great. But all of us are trying to grow. And the reality is, whatever is going on in our business today, if there's challenges in our business, the larger our business becomes, the larger those challenges become. So it's on us as users and leaders to start attacking our foundations today. And these processes and these technology that we have in our company are some of the key things that we need to ensure that our company can grow sustainably. And so, any cracks in our process today, one of the questions I always ask our teams when we're solving problems is, okay, I hear you have that challenge. Assume that problem doubles. Now, how are you going to handle that? And it's a good way to look at that. So all of a sudden, the size of your company doubles. How are you going to solve those problems with the current processes that you have in place today? So I think, just a bit in closing on these things, we've talked about this three-legged stool. I think we had a key. Oh,
we've got a key takeaway.
It's the survey,
the action item.
Yeah, not a different survey, but you could also then, what can you do today?
Send one survey with
send one survey.
Questions.
Yeah, don't send two with one question apiece. But very similarly, is we talked about getting insights from our team, and I don't think we ask our team enough, but survey your employees, and what's the one process that needs attention? What's the one broken processes, and you brought one up to me today that needs to be addressed, and solve that pain point in Q4, and so, kind of, in closing, as we're talking about this topic, I mean, technology is expensive, and we expect technology to not be an expense in our business, but to be an investment that helps us grow. Right. And we should any dollar we put forward, we should expect a return that is greater than the dollar that we put in.
Absolutely.
And when we're investing in technology, we have to make sure it's being utilized and adopted. Otherwise, it's just sitting there, and it's wasting money, and you're not getting the return. And so, this concept of the users, giving them the appropriate tool to help them do their job, having the top-down leadership buy-in and vision setting, and then also agreeing on the critical processes are ultimately what are going to get you there. And for our folks today that have attended the webinar, regardless of TrebleHook or whatever solution that you do, if you just go ask your users today, like, what's the biggest pain point in tech you have, and what's the biggest pain point in process that you have, and if the leadership team picks one or two key things, you're going to all of a sudden start seeing momentum in the fourth quarter, and then you go into next year and you start leaning on that to get better and better and better. So
the flywheel effect.
The flywheel effect. That's right. That's right.
Good call back there, huh?
Yeah, that's right. See, we got to call back to the porta potty now.
No, I don't like that one. All right. Well, good stuff, everybody. See if Mackenzie, do we have any questions as we're going through? KPIs that we talked about earlier. What would be some key KPIs? That's redundant, but what would be some KPIs?
Key performance indicators.
Right.
Yes, it's a great question. So I think it depends on what part of the business, but just in general, if you take a step back at what drives a business, revenue and profitability drives a company. We all need revenue coming into our companies to ultimately provide profitability, and profitability provides investment and paying the light bill and all that stuff in a company. So the dollars coming through our businesses are one of the most important things that you can think about tracking. And so if you think about where you are or where you need to be for revenue, typically a KPI around revenue is an amazing one. So I have a budget or an expectation for revenue, and where am I tracking against that expectation? And that expectation, there should be a reason for that expectation. Why do we need to, or why are we going to do this level of revenue? And are we tracking towards that revenue? And then backing up even a little farther, we start talking about leading indicators, and this is a whole nother conversation around leading and lagging indicators. Is what ultimately drives that revenue. And in a sales world, opening up opportunities or finding new projects in your company might be the thing that ultimately drives the revenue. So one of the other KPIs is how many new opportunities is my business development and marketing team finding. So that's a leading indicator. How many are coming in the door? Yep. How many are we winning? And then how is that revenue tracking to our goal? Yep. And so there's a whole kind of pipeline and funnel, but I would say those are a couple of really, really good ones. I know also just in today's world in AEC, there's a lot of repeat business. Mm-hmm. We obviously have repeat business in our world, but in AEC, a lot of our customers have a lot of repeat business. So customer satisfaction is a very important metric that we all need to track in our businesses. And so I'd say a KPI that we also is very important to track is how am I securing that reoccurring business? How am I making sure that customer that I built a job for or designed a job for is going to call me back when the next one comes? And so there might be a KPI that I have around customer satisfaction. So I think, when you look at KPIs, it's really just looking at the main areas of the business of most importance, and then starting to drive into just one or two key performance indicators. And the reality is, like I said before, I would start with like 2 or 3, and get those in place and get that as a common language in your company, and then start adding more as you see fit.
Yeah. I think one thing I was thinking as you were talking there, Chris, is the 2 questions that I ask when I think of it. Do you know who your best clients are, and do you know what your ideal project profile is? And today's probably the first conversation in a while we haven't talked about ideal project profile. Yeah. So I got to slide it in there. But I would say also anything that you can do to put some data behind those answers, because most people think that, like, in my gut, I know who my best clients are. In my gut, I know what our best projects are. But does the data actually support that? You may be surprised. So anything that you can do to track that, to be able to determine, would be great KPIs to track.
And we did a few months ago, we did a webinar on key performance indicators and leading and lagging and some of the best ones to track. So if you have a chance, go back and check that one out. It should give you some better insight.
All of our webinars are recorded on the website too that you can get to.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yep.
Biggest obstacles to implementing a new process. Honestly, I'd say one thing is not getting the team's buy-in is really a failure to communicate. And the realities of process in any of our businesses, processes, technology, it's going to touch multiple people in the business. And one of the things that people hate is to be just a decision is made about something that impacts their job without their influence or input.
And they don't know what the benefit is.
And they don't know what the benefit of it. Just say, hey, use this, do this. This is what I expect. And so, I think one of the biggest obstacles that we see is just a failure to communicate in a business. So when rolling out any new process or any new technology, it's imperative that we get the team's insights, feedback, and then also the team's buy-in to the appropriate way to do things. Yeah. And it's amazing how processes and technology implementation and change in a business can be accelerated when you have the team's backing. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest.
Yeah, you mentioned it, implementation. So implementations go much, much better when everybody's bought in.
That's right.
I mean, it's unbelievable when you have the users and leadership both bought in. It's amazing how quickly it can go.
Yep.
So
cool. Awesome.
That's it. All right.
Super cool. I know one thing, just a quick plug. I think it's going live today. We just published, in my view, one of the most comprehensive pieces of content that we've generated. Yep. We have so many conversations with people around CRM and effective CRM rollout, how to choose the right CRM, and quite honestly, take the word CRM out and pick HR software or ERP software, whatever. But we've just rolled out a extremely comprehensive ebook around really selecting the right CRM for your business and some of the key things to be thinking about. And then also in that ebook is a downloadable tool that you can use to actually have a metric-based way to make decisions about a CRM solution or any tech stack. So if you're not in the market for CRM, no big deal. But anytime you're trying to roll out new technology in your business or even new processes, I would take a quick look at that ebook. So some really good framework. I'm really proud of what our team's put together there. And we've put that together in response to all of the customers that we've talked to.
Yeah.
People that have chosen to work with us and people that haven't chosen to work with us, and really understanding the process. So we're hoping that's a tool that will help people roll out technology better in their business. So
good shout out. There was a lot of work that went into that.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Until next time, everyone.
Hope you all have a great day.
Thanks a bunch. We'll see you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.